that's a benefit. So we'll begin. That's pretty much good enough for me. So let's jump in. So firstly, we've got quite a crazy chaotic setup here of windows and all sorts of magical things. We're gonna get rid of a couple of these that I no longer need. You know, it's always good to start a live stream with a Facebook check. So you will notice one big difference is this is the first time we've got a face cam for a live stream that we do. I've also got a command wing camera, which through some video trickery is actually upside down. I am just going to slightly adjust the way that our chat here looks, just so that it fills all of the space. Now look, there isn't really a set program to this one. We're going to do a little bit of pretty much anything I feel like. We'll take questions. So I'm going to run through a couple of the questions that we got just before we started, before we begin and jump into anything. So let me just bring up the live chat here in a nice little window. Pop out chat, lovely. So unfortunately I need to start with sort of an apology. The apology is that somehow some people got a message saying that the live stream had started at 8:30, which is like 2 hours ago. That's unfortunately not correct. But yeah, so we begin with an apology and we move on. Will I do a tutorial on VPU? At some point, yes, it is in the list that I keep on a whiteboard above me. There is definitely a plan to do that. However, it's a really interesting issue simply for the fact that not many people are running VPU for in a professional sense. You know, a lot of people use it for previs, but they don't use it so much for actual shows. So I guess we'd really be directing you towards sort of your distributor on that one, to be honest. Your distributor will be the first one that will be able to answer and run training sessions, and they run a lot of VPU based training sessions depending on your location. Yeah. So what else have we got in terms of taking questions? We can show. I can fire up MA. We're dealing with a full system here. I'm going to get rid of this. So I'm not looking at myself anymore. It was a bit weird. But I am just going to check that, even though we're slightly on delay, I can actually just sort of get a general idea of what's happening. Lovely. Chat, maybe in the future, DMX merge by ArtNet in. Yeah, we can definitely do a bit of DMX merging or something. Let me know if any of the windows that I'm running are a bit too small. I've got a 4K screen and a touch screen, which is what LC is running on currently. So I was messing around actually with media servers. I was going to try to fire up a media server, but I've only recently installed my capture card, so the chances of that happening are less than likely. But we can start looking at. I want to store on any fader and automatically select. So you want to be able to store something to a fader. Let's just patch a bit of a show. We might not start with the great database of insanity here. Let's select something a bit more basic. Let's go an LDI show. LDI shows are reasonably good normally. Oh, perfect. That's exactly what we want. Basic little rig to do what we want with. But we're obviously, let me just start the fixture update file there. We're going to switch out a couple of fixes. Oh no, we've got techno spots. I guess we can patch techno spots, but it's all going to be tied to the hog protocol. But that's okay, because that gives us a chance to configure a bit of ArtNet, do all sorts of wonderful things while I continue to read questions. I will be starting with the how do we store and start with an ArtNet merge, and maybe we'll do a bit of media server stuff. And yeah. So anyway, let's begin. We're going to load up a new show file. We're going to call it CT Livestream, and I can't even remember the date today. Today is the 11th. So the 11th, 11-10 And we'll start with that. And we'll also set autosave on, and normally I'd have a USB drive attached, but I think every single USB point in my computer is full of stuff right now. So we'll get our network protocols running. So we're already in a session. I'm in the right range. We're going to give it a session name as well, just while we're here. What 3D emulator am I running? I'm running a program called LightConverse. It's either this or MA3D. I will dip into some MA3D later as well if we're interested. So we're going to call this CT training. Not that this matters, really. We're not going to give it a session password. We're going to go start. Then we're going to go into network protocols, and we're going to go, I like Art. I prefer ACN to ArtNet. So we're going to go output. We're going to output 8 of them. We're going to local start on 1. And we'll see whether a multicast will work. Technically, it's an internal thing, so a multicast might not really be the best, but we'll see. So let's just grab our front fixtures for a sec. Ooh, they've got some... Oh, why? I never understood this. Some show files go right to left, which is a massive pain in the ass. Why, guys? Why? Why do this? So let's just quickly dive in. We're going to go SACN Universe 1, SACN Universe 2, SACN Universe... Oh, hello. There's a restart available. We won't do it though. So by the look of it, the show's obviously been set up to use a HOG console for training, because obviously LightConverse's preferred supplier is LightConverse, is HOG. But we'll just dump this back where it lives. And then let's just see whether we've got some semblance of output. Not yet. That's okay. We should be able to fix that. If we go output unicast and we go 192.168.1.26, we should actually see something. Maybe when I've patched something. 1.26 final. Yeah. Now I've just got to check my IP address. Yeah, 1.26. Let's patch something and we'll come back to it. Worst case scenario, we'll dive into using MANet. So we're going to go, I like to do a mine by location, so we're going to go front truss. And what are those? Those are techno spots. So let me let my library update a bit. Clearly I haven't opened it on this version. And I've just noticed that my command ring has gone to sleep. Interesting. I wonder when that happened. Yes, we have detected one. Yes, we can confirm that is a real one, which is a normal standard little thing that now comes up. I think the ISC might have just fallen out of it. Occasionally that does happen. How are we going here? While we wait for our library to very slowly update. We've got 24 people watching. Lovely. Hopefully I'm going to make it exciting. If not, it's going to be really awkward for one of us. While I am here, I just want to... Oh no, there we go. We've got a library. There's a program that I'm running on my computer at some point that people will ask about called Fences, that essentially allows you to create a little box that you can then move around and things stay in it. Really handy. Anyway, we're going high end. And it is a techno spot. It's going to be really awkward if it's not in the library, but there it is. Techno spot. Only in one mode. And how many of them have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the front. So we'll do 6 for the moment. They're called T-spots. T-spots, and they are in Universe 2. So we'll go 2.1, and because they kind of look like a 700, I'm going to go 701. And we're going to go save. Yep, there we go. As I thought, we just needed to give it a bit of output, and then it'll kick in. So now we know that, let's go into full screen mode. And we'll drop our highlights a bit. So, dipping over to our command wing, I go fixture 1 through, please. Like that. And we get our fixtures. Now you might have noticed that we've got a red line. That's simply because I had that selected. So if we deselect that for a sec, and we go back in, we should then have control. So if I go MA+2, I can pan and tilt them, and I can also sort of orientate myself around. MA on PC in full screen, please. Definitely. Hopefully that slightly helps. It all depends, I guess, on what res you're running. I technically probably can, considering the way I'll be running this, I can probably make it even better for you. So if I go like this, we can probably make this a bit bigger and it'll break. I'm not a big fan of like you really need to be able to see what I'm doing. I guess you do. So let's just make that also the size of me. And we'll cover... Oh no, that's not the way we're going to do that. We'll cover it like that. There we go. Alright, let me know if that is any better. So we've got our front fixtures. We notice that they work, which is handy. So we'll continue on with our little patch adventure. Just going to get a cable out of the way of one of my screens. There's about a 5-second delay, so I apologize. I will be checking the chat occasionally, but if I don't, I promise I'll get there eventually. So what have we done? We've gone 201 through 20. So we've done 201 through 206. We should really use their fixture numbers as well. I've been naughty. I've been given a patch list. I'm not using their fixture numbers. So we're going to go front truss, and then we're going to go... Where is 207? Is that a mid truss? Yes, it is. Mid truss. So we're going to go mid truss. That's techno spots, and it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, really? 6. 6. Much better. 6, 2, 2, 3. And the way that it's displaying addresses is a bit weird. Interesting. Oh yeah, no, 408 is correct. I'm clearly, yeah, 2.408. That's just a very interesting way of displaying it. So before we check those, we'll just go on, because they've got some other stuff. What have we got? We've got 4 blinders. Yeah, we'll add those in. 4 of, and that says universe 4.1. So we'll go 4.1, and we'll leave them as channel ID 1. And what else have we got? We've got studio beams. Do we want to use studio beams, or do we want to swap them out for something else? I mean, we can swap them out. What's on the other side? IntelliSpots. We can swap out the studio beams for something. Well, the one benefit of Light Converse is that I can grab things if they're not in a universe I'm using, which they might be, and quickly flash them up. I doubt it's going to let me do it because technically it's receiving signal. Yeah, let's swap them out. Let's go something new. So if we go Martin, flex the library a bit, and we go, what's the new one that's just come out? Oh, not the Encore. Is it the Encore? Someone's screaming at the screen right now. It's the something. It's not in the rush range. Yes, let me patch some 600s in and really take us back in history. Nah, that's not what we ought to do. It's going to be right at the top of the list. Let's go back. Let's just search it like this. This list is very interestingly set up. Maybe if we go by fixture number. What is that new fixture that I've got? Is it? I swear it's the Encore or something. It's the Axe. No, that's the MA one. Ah, yes, the Axum Hybrid. Let's swap them out for Axum Hybrids. And let's put them in their own universe so they're not... Oh, they're going to overlap something. Let's put them in universe 6 and see whether they will fit. They will fit. Yeah, they'll fit. Cool. And let's just make sure that we enable ACN universe 6. Apply. And how many of those have we got? We have 15 of them. So we'll go uprights. I'm not going to patch the other things. I think we'll move on from here. Now, this will be the test. Are these in the library? Why are people saying encore? It's not an encore. Oh, no. Oh, no, there we go. Axiom Hybrid. Hopefully it's in the same mode that we've got these in. This is what happens when you... Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yeah, 23 channels. That's... Yeah, that's correct. So we have 15 of those. And they start on 6.1. And their fixture ID is 101. And let's quickly get rid of these tally beams. We don't need them. Is there anything else in the rig that we've missed? Nah. Ah, what's on the floor? Showguns. We might come back to those. We might come back to them and we might make them something pixel mappable and we'll look at some pixel mapping. People come saying it's the encore. It's not the encore. Is it? Now I want to look this up. People have come here to learn. I apologise. Yeah, it is the encore. Oh well, the Axiom's also good. Alright, now let's see what we've got. So if we go full screen. So if you're wondering how I'm manipulating not MA3D, I wish it worked in MA3D, like Converse, I have a little 3D mouse device. Oh, and there's a picture of it that's just appeared on the screen. That sort of allows me to sort of turn and rotate, and it's absolutely fantastic for what we're doing today. Anyway, normally I would be just importing a user profile, but today we're going to build them manually. But let's just check through all our fixtures. Fixture 1 through. And we'll also fix that, because we see that some fixtures go backwards and some go forwards. Isn't that fun? But look, all the colours. I love Visualizer World, because everything in Visualizer World, the colours are correct. Magic like that. So I'm going to quickly save my version of MA3D. Come back in. Yes, we're running a legitimate command wing. How many parameters are we running? Not that many. So we'll be able to fit a media server in if I have to. To answer the question, yeah, I'm running like Converse. So let's build a quick screen. We'll see that we're in command wing mode because we've got a command wing attached. So let's just build a really quick little layout view. Well, police sirens in the back go off. Probably don't need 2 position pools, do I? We'll go color. We'll go there. I've got to change that, don't I? Because otherwise that'll screw with people. Color. Beam. And focus. And we'll drop in a small effects one. And I'll do an all preset pool because I always like all preset pools, and we might even do something else. Now, once again, in my user profile, all this is sort of colored already, but we'll color them here, and you can do that by clicking on the little yellow circle and then selecting a color. Just breaks it up a bit. Now I'm desperately trying to remember the colors I use in my show file. The problem with all presets is you just natively remember what they are by the color of them, and you don't need to do this. So let's go like this. We'll slightly resize. I worked with someone recently that doesn't believe in fixture views at all, so having a programmer up, which was interesting to me. Not that at that size it's going to make too much of a difference, but we're going to have it anyway, and we're going to store this as a view. So we click store, we click in the view, and we call it prog, like prog rock. And yeah, and then we'll go command, setup, auto create. We'll do group for each, create all, 3 groups created, and then we're going to go to additional presets. I go swatch book, and this is my way of getting out of trouble. I click on MA colors, and this gives me 13 colors that are get out of jail, and I prefer that. So I do have a macro that generates colors for me, but most of the time these suffice. So to be honest, I'm going to reverse the other fixtures, because a pan forwards gives me a forward motion and a pan backwards gives me towards me, which kind of makes sense. So we might end up reversing the other fixtures. There's also only 8 of those. So the way that I reverse all my fixtures is I get them in to a position that is sort of where I want them in the end, and then I go setup and we use the live function process. And then if we do it now, so if I go DMX invert, we'll see that it does it live for me. And I think we'll also need to do a pan invert on them. So we'll do this and this. That takes a sec to process, kick in, there we go, lovely. And then we should also be able to check that they work and they go in the same direction. Now if we clear a couple of times, we'll check that our rig goes in the same way. Haha, no it does not. Didn't need that pan invert. And this time I did it in full, which means it won't do it live. Now, our rig goes together. It operates at different speeds, but that's good because that's kind of realistic. So then the next thing we would do is we'd check that all the colors are correct. So we'll dial it up. We'll check that the red works, the orange works, the yellow works, those kind of sort of colory things. And we make sure that the white is using the right parameters. Now that's interesting, because that looks slightly CTO to me now. I'd suggest because something is using the indigo. Let's go min CTO. Let's clear out for a sec, because I am not crazy. That white is definitely not white. So that's what it's calling white for that fixture, which is interesting because it gives us a chance to obviously correct that. I wonder if it's going to display the indigo. Maybe I'm suspecting we won't actually have the indigo parameter in the visualizer. No, we do. Oh, hang on. No, we don't. We don't have the indigo. Yeah, the indigo is sort of non-existent, but that's alright. We'll do a nice little trick here. We'll just call those parameters into the programmer and we'll go store and we'll call that white. We'll also check that our dimmers work, so we'll drop it into highlight mode. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to ship me all day. You watch. But we'll make some nice effects edits. Yeah, cool. No questions so far. We're doing well, and we have, wow, 40 people watching. That's impressive. Clearly I've hit the good time for programming things. So feel free to keep questions flowing, because otherwise I am just going to program a show pretty much off command wing. So yeah. So what have we got on stage? Let's bring up the quote-unquote house lights for a sec. We've got a small band on stage, so we might sort of focus to them. So the way that, especially working with a command wing where I've got only this amount of space to work with, what I'll do with spacing is I'll try to make everything work within sort of this layout. So we're not going to really use the Axiom hybrids in more of a group than that. We might split them up a bit into odds and even groups, but we'll do that slightly differently. But the techno spots, we are going to do a front and mid truss for. So this means that we have to slightly modify this so our group pool looks right. And then we can pretty much do something like this. So now if I go clear, and we go move axioms down here, these will be my 6 groups of those. But I know that firstly we go fixture 201 through 206, that's our front truss of them. So we click store, we click on an empty preset, and we call it front technos. That brings me back to the days of the techno beam. And then we can, because we've got half of them on one truss and half of them on the other, we can use a minus. So if I select all of them and then go minus front technos, we've got our second group. So we'll go mid techno. And you'll notice that I've committed a horrible foul. You'll see that I've got these listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because I created them separately. They are in fact wrong. So if we simply go, in fact you are T-spot 7, because we've left a space with the number, it'll actually update, and now it'll be correct. And lo, the world was good. So we have mid technos, which we can put in red, and front technos, which we can put in, believe it or not, blue. Yes, nice. Cool. Now let's have a look at our axioms, because we're going to do these a bit differently. So we'll tilt them all out for a sec. And we're going to save them in a color. And we're going to give them intensity. And the reason we're doing this is because as I go through and we grab each tower, I just want the highlight parameter so I can select fixtures by just going at. So we'll select the hybrids, we'll put them in at, and we'll go our first one, which I want, second one, which I want, third, which I want, and we'll stop. So we go, and now if I click clear once, it'll just leave me with those 3. And because of the fact that I've stored everything else, now I can highlight and go, okay, well that's 103. So we're going to go tree 1, upright 1. Well, we should do this properly. We'll call them OP. So just looking through some of the questions. What is your preferred timecode program? All the tutorials I've done have been in Reaper. But obviously I also support the fantastic Australian program that is Time Lord, which does a lot of really cool things really well. So it's depending on those two. I prefer Time Lord, but I've used Reaper, I've used all sorts of magical things. I've even used my phone occasionally. Are you going to do a video of the stream, or will it be deleted at the end of the stream? Depending on how much condensed content I can get out of this will depend on that. So if it's really long-winded and we don't get through much and all it is a programming session, it'll just be put up as is on YouTube. However, if there's condensed sessions that I can cut down and take things out that aren't already covered in our basic series, then I'll be using those. How do you work with XYZ fixtures? There are tutorials online. It is in the list of ones that we do. Once again, it's a really small amount of people that are doing it with black track systems and similar. I know you can do it with markers and other things now that, you know, are around, but it's not as popular as other things, so it's quite low on our list. How do I unpatch fast? Felix has already answered that. And Bale appears to be just talking to himself. So we've got our OP1s. Now we can continue. So if we go all group minus op, we can continue. So we go, yes, I want that one. Yes, I want that one. Yes, I want that one. And we're going to know that it's 3. So what we can actually do is just start doing this sort of without doing that. Upright. OP. C, which is OP down right center. Now we can go this minus these two, and we can see it'll be 107 through 109, 107 through 109. And before we continue, I get a big question about this. When you fire up the desk, channel is always a default, and how can you change that? And it's the simplest thing ever. You pick what you want, so I want Fixture to be my default, and then with nothing in the command line, you just click please. Like that. And now it'll default. So now I can go, what were we looking at? We were looking at 107. 107 through 110. My maths is correct. Nope. Minus 110. Upright. Prompt. See. And then we can do our lovely little minus trick again. So we go this minus all those. And that gives us upright. Prompt. Cool. Now we can go delete. And if I delete this, it leaves a sequence there. So I actually don't want to ever see that sequence again. So I'm going to go delete sequence 1. And it's going to go, you're about to delete something. Would you like to do that? Occasionally it'll say, you're deleting something that's on stage. Are you sure you want to do that? In this case, we do. So we have 37 people watching. So we've dropped 3 people. That's all right. They come and go. We don't have a time frame on this, so it may run for a really long time. It might run for not a very long time. It'll all depend on how we're going. However, we are 40 minutes in and I'm yet to program anything. So I should probably get on that. So we're going to start with our front technos. We're just going to do some basic positions. I'm going to start backwards. Well, backwards to what this system is calling backwards. So let's sort of search around and find some people here to light up. So another trick you can do is if we go all technos for a sec and we drop it to minimum focus, then we can get our center line right. Grab the wrong thing again. Cool. I'm going to use the previous button. We're going to search for our singer in the world there. There she is. We're going to give her 2 lights. Singers like that. Although that one is quite close to where the other one was. So we might use that on something else. I know I've got 6. So we might go searching. I think there's a rear guitarist that we can use. So we are also going to change to fine mode just to do these little fine positions. Then we're going to go previous, which is what I'm calling next. We're going to take it out of fine mode for a sec. Hello, Ivan. Welcome to the stream. Now, of course, you could do this with a little bit of color in. So we could grab all our fixtures just so we know where the lights are positioned. So it's looking how it's looking. So we're going to do that. We're going to go blue for a sec. We're going to go at. Let's go at 45. And then we can go back to highlighting. So that's looking alright. Now we'll go hunting again. Dun, 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 dun. What do we got? I think there's a singer down the back of the front here as well, or I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Yeah, there is. And we know that there's somewhere up the back there's a keyboardist as well. So we'll do him like so. And what have we got left? I swear there's going to be a drummer. Let's bring up the house lights a sec. Yeah, there's a drummer. So we'll light the drummer from this back chord a bit as well, and we'll give the singer a bit of backlight, I think, because we can do some cool things with that. It's actually a really nice rig to play with. There is a singer. Sorry, there is a singer behind the drums. No, there is a drummer. So he's got one light, so we'll give him another one. Do some sort of shadowy cool stuff with him. Yeah, we'll give her that. I've got 3 lights left. So we'll use that as our second drummer light. Just checking our comments again. Feel free to be more active on comments if you want. I will answer questions. I will answer basic questions and I will show stuff. But, you know, it is occasionally a bit hard. So we've got one spare light because I have 6 objects. Oh, technically that should work. I should use that as a front light. Yeah, there we go. See? Lighting. I know how to do it. So, good God, that's bright. On them, not on me. So we're going to call this band, which is the biggest cop-out of a name ever. Band position. And we'll clear, and then we'll go to band position in white, and oh my God, that's bright. So we'll work on a focus of narrow for the moment. That gives us something to play with. That's our rough band position. Looking kind of cool. And we can put some gobos over them as well if we really want to make them look slightly funky. Very nice. We might have to split and do some dedication to that as well. Let's have a look at our Axiom hybrids. So let's leave our band up. Let's put them on a fader. And we'll also do our focus position, our focus for our fixtures now. If we zoom. So if we go 0, everything goes tight. Let's pan them out so we can see everything a bit better. Yep, lovely, that's all tight. So we'll call this tight. And then we'll go, we'll go mid, which we might end up tweaking for that front light, mid, and then predictably wide. Can you do some effects? We will definitely do some effects. We'll do a bit of effects with these axioms. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, now that I know the size of my groups, I'm going to drag my matrix in because this will help immensely in this process. Yeah, you know what? We don't need to make it that big. And then we'll go command, setup, import, export, import, effects. And we'll also do a matrix. Alright, so let's do something cool with these axioms. I'm going to also tweak this haze because it's looking a bit glorious. A bit too glorious, to be honest. Don't know. Oh, that might be better. Maybe we've got, let's up the quality a bit. Alright, so we've got these fixtures. So we'll look at some effects. So you've got your normal amount of effects that we've done. You've got a dimmer sign that just goes through one by one. We've got a dimmer chase. These are all preset effects, and we can just see that it follows a line. We've got a pulse value motion, PWM, pulse wave motion, a dimmer random, which is never random enough, and an odd and even, and then a shutter, which will be a dim, odd, even, and also a shutter. And to turn that effect off, we can just click off and off. Everyone's favorite, the rainbow chase, the reverse rainbow chase, the anti-rainbow chase, the RGB chase, the blue-white chase, which is a great example of how to do sort of colouring like that. The odd and even rainbow chase. Look, yeah. Look, there's some of these effects that are just useless, to be honest. The colour one ramp, never ever seen it used. Ramping up a colour wheel, that's a really fast way. To the point that I'm going to delete some of these effects, so we've got something to play with later. Then I'm going to go move, effect, 17 through 50 at there, just to drag them all, which is a really good way. Let's have a look at our CTO sign. CTO sign might look kind of cool. We'll leave that in there. And then you've got your normal, your pan sign, your dim sign, and then you've also got sort of your circle, which always looks cool. Depending on the way you do it, you've got to sort of wing it and do kind of crazy stuff with it to make it look effective, especially when you've got a fixture layout like that. But let's sort of program what I'd call sort of a start look. So we're doing sort of a rock band. So this is the look that we're going to have before the rock band comes on. So we don't want to show too much, but we want to also, you know, entrance the audience a little. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, they don't show up at all, so we're not even going to touch or use them for the rest of the show. We're going to grab our mid-technos, we're going to put them in our band position, and realize that I've given a light to everyone except for one person, so we're going to solo through and find one light to give to our, yeah, there we go, to give to our poor lonely keyboardist over there. Or guitarist. Is he a guitarist back there? What is he? I think he's a keyboardist. No, he's a guitarist. Bass player. Bass player extraordinaire. So we'll go with something like that. And we might also fix up one of the highlights there. So we've got one for that singer that I'm not 100% happy with, only because of the size. Then we can go mid, and we can go band. So what we'll do is we'll go wide. We'll then grab some gobos. I'm not a big one on putting gobos in. Ooh, that's, yeah. So the gobo wheel is going to be wrong as well. So we're going to have to slightly tweak. I'm not big on auto-creating presets for gobos, just because occasionally it doesn't work the way you want it to. Ah, see how cool does that look? Yes, that's what we want. And then we can also go half of that in sort of a lavender. Make it look kind of cool. And we'll grab part 1 and we'll slightly change the colouring. Yeah, we'll go with something like that. We'll find the lights that are just hanging off the edge there a bit and tweak them so they're on stage. There's no point lighting up the audience in this case. Grabbing them in odds and evens, and I'm realising what I'm doing and it's bad. We've done some effects, just checking in. So we've got sort of a rough look. So what we're going to do is we're going to go mid-technos. We're going to put that on fader 1 and check that it runs. Let's grab the right fader, which it does. Yeah, lovely. And we're going to call this sign to sign. Click on the button. We're going to call it walk in. Now, all good walk-in looks have always got a bit of audience light. You need to be able to see what you're doing. So we're going to grab our front technos and go add at. And we're just going to roughly pin them into the audience and use the align function to cross them a bit. Oh, so they are really slow to do what I want. Something like this. So we're going to go wide. That colour's a bit unrealistic, to be honest. And we'll also stick a pattern in those. There's a skull in them. That's kind of cool. So we'll just find where the gobo actually is. And I believe I can... No, some fixtures you can defocus a bit. So let's also put the prism in. And we'll size it down. And then we're just going to store over the top. So we're going to click store, click on that, and go merge. Click there. And now you've got a walk-in look. Will it be a busking show at the end? Yeah, it's not going to be a pre-programmed one. I might do something and that, and then we'll do a bit of a busking thing. Busking is really hard on a command wing because you've only got, obviously, 6 faders. And I've just noticed that the text is going across. Why has nobody said that the text is going across and screwing with the view? You're not helping yourselves. It's also not your fault. It's my problem. I should have been keeping an eye. Oh, it's because I rescaled this. That's why. So we have sort of a busking look. We still have 34 people watching and we're an hour in. We haven't really done much. Because it takes a little longer to explain than it does to program. Normally talking is faster. But I maintain you can't really busk very well on a command wing because you've only got 6 faders, technically 7 if you're using the main AB preset pool. Sorry, the main AB faders, and I normally put program time and exact time on that. So we're gonna leave that. We've got sort of our walk-in look, and now we need something for the bandy sort of stuff. So we're gonna go with front technos at band, and that, and we're going to also we're gonna get rid of a color just so I've got something. What do I not want in this? Sea green. Sea green. Never used it. Don't want it. Moving on. And we'll do this manually. And then logically I should have put it next to that one. We're going to go and we're going to use the CTO, which this doesn't have. So we're going to manually dial in a CTO from the yellow. It's very green. We'll actually just color match to what the axioms have got in terms of... I swear the other ones that have CTO. Let's go max CTO on those and tilt them out. We're just going to kind of match to that, which is always the easiest way of doing it. You're dealing with different fixture types. So we're going to go color. We're going to bring up our special dialog, and I'm going to say it's roughly... It's not that yellow. If I was smart, I'd be going swatch book and we'd be finding one that's sort of the right. So it's a light amber. No, that is not a light amber. We've got to go way less than that. So we'll go a Lee. Full CT straw will get us the same result, I think. Yeah, we need to wind a bit of the yellow out of that. Yeah, so we'll call that CTO for a sec. Let's call it light hash. So we'll use our fronts in band. We're going to go tight. We're going to put him in CTO. That's really bad CTO. Let's just wind up the colours until we get what we want. Way too yellow in the face. Yep, we'll call that CTO. Whoa, wrong preset to update. So we're going to go, this is going to be sort of our main band look. So we're going to essentially transition in the show. That didn't save that color information, did it? No, it did not. Update. Q1. So essentially we've got our pre-show, and then we'll fade slowly out of that into band coming on stage, and then we're going into that. So we're gonna kind of need something to sort of busk with. So we'll need to find a song. It's really hard to find like a royalty-free song. So we'll just imagine that it's sort of a normal band. They're gonna start. They're gonna come on. We're going to slowly fade up, and I'm not going to do this on one cue list because then I'd put in mark cues and make it nice. We're going to pretty much do this ourselves. So we've got this, they come on, lights are in their home positions, we click this a little bit up so they're in, then we bring it up. So we've got that. And then the next sort of thing we're going to add is our mids. Also sort of in our CTO. just so we've got front light and back light. So we're going to go there, and we're going to sort of move our faders around. So we'll put that there and that there. So then we've got front light and back light, and we'll name them approximately. We'll go front, we'll call it face Alex, and we'll go EX, because it's technically backlight. I mean, I know the drummer is also in, drummer's kind of not even in that sort of position unless we're using the back one, but that's okay. In real life, I would have put a little more light from the front so that I didn't have to compromise. Well, the singer always likes more light than everyone else. I don't have a drummer in my first position. Yeah, I know. All right, you're right. We can't do that to our poor drummer. We'll give him one of the singer's lights. I'm just being lazy. Update band position for him. Then we've got our front light with, yeah, I still need to grab that light now that's in minimum focus. Yeah, there we go, that's better. So we'll update our band preset, and now we've got front and back. Now, one thing that you're noticing is annoying. So these lights, most of the time with my front light never really moves. So it'd be really annoying if I brought it to 0 for something between a song and then in between it snaps back. You can actually modify that. So if we click on the top part of the fader, we've got the option to turn auto stop off. So now when they fade to 0, all we're doing is killing the intensity. And they're always there. I'm going to leave it as a go button, and I've also got it as an off in case I do need to release it. We could also set them to be flashes so we can do sort of cool back and forthy sort of things. So we'll add to stuff, we'll add to those later as well, but now we need to sort of look at effects. So we're going to grab our axioms, we're going to put them in tight, and we're going to do just a couple of positions for these. Using the align function, we're just going to pretty much bang out a couple of wacky positions with these. So we're going to do sort of spread. The room's a bit small to do a proper spread. Ooh, and that does very interesting things for certain fixtures. So we're just going to call this beams, beam out. And then we're just going to go off quickly, our parameters. Tilt it up. Oh, off, pan, that also helps. So we're going to call this beam straight. And we're also going to quickly, while they're up like this, we're also going to do a DSC position. But we'll do it with, starting from beam straight, we'll put them in blue. And we'll put them in minimum focus again. And I'll quickly bash through these so that we're not wasting too much time. Positions take a lot of time, unfortunately. So I could technically go fixture 103 at fixture 102 and sort of at least get me in rough position, which is handy. And equally I can also go fixture 104 through 1115 at fixture 102. and then just sort of modify it to make it work per bank. That is also an option. Because it is a bit faster to do it like this. Obviously in real life we'd be a bit more careful with the way that I'm positioning these lights. I'd probably be doing it in fine. But we're sort of, we want to get positions in so we can do a show, quote unquote. But we're not, you know, this is not brain rocket surgery. But it'll get the desired effect. Cool. So that's all our axioms. So we're going to call this DSC. We're going to go from beam straight to BSC, and we're going to switch our program and executor times because I'm always looking for the way that lights transit. So we're going to use our main AB faders. We're going to set it to about 3.5 seconds. We're going to make sure that when we transition to beam straight, it doesn't look hideous, no lights snap in odd directions, because there's nothing worse than a busk show where lights do full rotations. But there we go, that gives us something to play with. So I'll take out the haze again, we'll kill those for a sec. And we'll imagine, so we've got, as I said, we've got this and this. And then we're going to just want a little bit of stuff from the axioms when it starts to get a bit crazy. So we're going to start with our DSC position. We're going to drop a gobo into them, which, as we said, on highlight mode Alex, we're going to go wide on that. We can do some really cool things with, so we're going to sort of do sort of a warm palette. Something like that. Full zoom. And then we're also going to try a little bit of rotation on that just to get that looking nice. From memory, these fixtures do have a, yeah, they do have a go rotate. I never understood this with fixtures. I know I'm using a live stream as a soapbox, but why, when you start to rotate something, does it snap in fixtures to fast? If I want fast, I'm more than happy to smash the wheel in. I shouldn't have to smash the wheel in for slow rotations. So that's, I mean, that's a really big sort of a pull for a song to bring that in. But if we do it nicely, it should look okay. So we've got a gentle pull in with that. And then we could, you know, we could add a little bit of a sort of a tilt sign into that. Just really subtle. I hate that gobo though. That gobo is absolute arse. But the moment you do something like that, it starts looking bad. It's interesting. I'm not big on moving things with gobos in them. We've got sort of roughy movie things. You can do sort of a speed master. So if we go sign, we go speed special master. We can drop in a special master. And then we can assign the effect to it. So now rather than just being the default speed, we can now speed it up, slow it down. We can also sort of add effects on top and also assign those to the speed master. Or different speed masters, so you can sort of do sort of really cool things like that. And you can sort of gauge the way the song is going. Now we can see that when we're looking at that dimmer sign, especially for an actual song, it does look a bit odd. Simply because, I mean, it's quite predictable. It's going left to right, 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 left to right. Boring. So, if we turn the effect off for a sec, only the dim sign one. The other one's alright. If we grab all our Axiom hybrids and use the least used button on this desk, the tools menu, we can go shuffle selection order and then go dimmer select. And now we sort of get a bit more of a random look. We could also modify the effect so it's not going all the way to 0, so it's not as obvious. So if we go to maybe 10, they'll always still sort of have a glow on them. And then we can just use our program time, slightly ramp that up, grab all our fixtures, and we can go, oh, it's going to be a big moment, so we're going to push beam out. We're going to go with just blue. And we're going to make it tight. And then we're going to drop the gobo. Which always looks, you know, it's always going to look sort of obvious. There you've got sort of, you know, a beamy look. And then because we're using program time, if we go off with our tilt sign, rather than just going and snapping, we're going to be left with sort of a really nice sort of hard position, like so. How are we going? So we've got sort of a roughly busky sort of thing going, and we're going to put this into Q2, just so we've got sort of, let's pull our program time out for a sec. So we've got our lovely crazy position, and then we've got that snapping into those effects. So now if we go into this cue list, we can go cold effect, we're going to go warm, cold effect, and we're going to go blue beam. And then we're just going to put a fade time of 2 on. And when we put a faded 2 on and we go, we can see that it's still snapping. It's because I've got executor time turned on. So if we turn that off, everything will fade nicely. But if we turn that back on and we push that higher, so if we go to 5 seconds, now it's going to affect that fade, so it's longer than 2 seconds. It's now going to take what we want, and we can see that gobo rotate in there as well, which is a bit annoying, but you can still get some rather cool effects. How are we going? We're not very active in the Yale chat, are we? Making myself a bit larger. So we might kick it over to questions. We've got basically a system running. Do we want to look at media servers, or what do we want to look at exactly? I'm more than happy to look at anything. In the meantime, I'm going to quickly grab a drink while I'm waiting for questions. Questions. Otherwise, if I don't get questions, I'm just going to program maybe a bit with media servers. Because media servers are always glorious amounts of fun. Oh, hello. Hello, Philip. How are you? Hello, Philip. How are you? Hello, darkness, my old friend. I have come to talk to you again. I really wish that I could program... Oh, I should get rid of myself. I really wish I could program, like, actual songs that people know, but copyright prevents me from doing so. I mean, we could do royalty free, but then there's less fun in there. Oh, someone shared my post to the MA Thailand fan club. Let's also share my post while we're waiting. I'm meant to be getting a drink, but that's not happening, is it? Share in a group. MA just lighting. What do we got? Yeah, look, it's good to see my face. I like my face. I don't get to see my face very often either. So it's always good when you get to see your own face. Seems like a ridiculous thing to say, doesn't it? Yeah, give me a sec. Ask questions, Philip. Philip, think of things to ask, and then ask them. Well, I find myself a drink. Oh. Oh, the question can't be where I've gone. Where have I gone? It's a cop out of the question. Why is your room so messy? That's a good one. Oh, okay. So we got some good questions. What have we got? Told you not to ask that exact question. So we've got talking about the word matrix. So do you want to do a bit of like pixel mapping or something? We can do pixel mapping. We can do MA-based pixel mapping, which we've done before. Or we can do MBox-based pixel mapping. I prefer MBox. I don't use media servers at all, but the Music Society does. It'd be cool to see what they're capable of. Yeah, we can definitely do MBox. I do have my MBox hooked up. I just actually haven't seen my capture card appear in my list of little devices. Yeah, we might do a bit of pixel mapping in ye old like Converse, in MA, and then we'll come back to it. So it's probably going to eat channels as well. I said I'd come back to the Shoguns, but I'm not going to. So we'll do the Nexus 4x4. I have 48 channels each. And I've put it in the Singer somehow. Normally you can just sort of rotate fixtures around without any will or care. However, now that's going to be an issue if I break this. Simply because we need the right pixel to be in the right location. So we're going to do just a little bit of pixel mapping. The really small sort of map. Am I using the latest version of MA? Yes. Not on shows. I still prefer 3.1. But I have been known to use 3.3 on occasion. But I'm really hesitant on always using the latest, like the bleeding edge latest, simply because every version's got bugs, and I, to be honest, don't know what all the bugs with the current version are. So I'm kind of hesitant to do so. But this is 3.341, so I guess I could be colouring some faders for your enjoyment. And if you really, really want me to, I'll write a macro and we'll rainbow chase some faders. But I think that's the most ridiculous thing ever in a console. And it's not anything close to programming a show. What universes have I got free? I should have universe 5 free. Yeah, cool. I can probably fit one more. But I've just got to make sure that... Yeah, pixel 1, pixel 2. Yeah, cool. Alright, we can do this. So I have a 2x2, 2x2, 2x4, 2x4 wall. So we'll patch these in. We'll go CT Livestream. How do you control video? Ah, well, simple answer. How do I control video? We do it in the same way that we use a command wing. We use a full console. I use PRG Inbox, but other people use Hypnotizer. Other people use other programs. Some use Resolume. Resolume does not do thumbnail exchange, which we'll go through later. If I can get my inbox to talk. Anyway, we'll go pixel map and we'll chew up some parameters. So, Shavert Nexus 4x4, 3x4, 48 channel mirrored. We have 6 of them. Starting on 4.1. They will start on Fixture 501. Ooh, they collide with something. Really? Ah, because I start on 5.1. 5.1, not 4.1. Cool. I've just unpatched our... No, I haven't. That's cool. Alright. So we've got our Nexuses. I'm not... Normally we go fixture positions and we do all that, but we don't actually have to anymore. So first things we're going to do, we're going to come out of this. We're going to make sure they work. So we're going to go fixture 501. Is that what I said? Yes, fixture 501. Lovely. Alright, we'll go full screen. So we'll go fixture 501 through 506. 501 through 508. Did I patch 8 of them? No, I only patched 6 of them. We'll add 2. (501 through 508). Somebody can't do maths today. 501 through 508. 501 through 508. How quickly can I type? Can you show us what happened if you set... No, I'm not showing you shutdown macros. 501 through 508. Maybe I've broken something. This is when we discover that they take up more than the universe that I spec them for. Yes, there we go. So the last 2 don't fit in the universe. They overrun into universe 6. If you're wondering why I'm sort of leaning, it's because there's a microphone here and then there's a screen behind me. The light converse screen. So they are actually in 6 and they are 3, 4, 6. And 3, 9, 4. And also, while we're in light converse and feeling festive, I'm going to go turn off light so we don't have a beam out of them. All we've got is the pixel. Just a visual thing. But now, we go back to our lovely screen and we go 501 through 508. Store Nexus 4x4. Wall. We can then run a rainbow chase and check that we've got all the pixels. Yeah, and that's pixel mapping, and we're done. No, so we need sort of our own little screen now. Before we change anything, I'm going to make sure we save this. We're going to use actually the same screen, just to be slightly festive. So we're going to go layout view, layout pool first. And then we're going to go fixture 501 through 508. Store. Select it. And then we go layout view. And we've got 1,000,000 pixels. Woo! You can contain your excitement. Because we're just going to deal with them as a rectangle. 4x4. And we're just going to generate them like that. And we're just going to repeat that process over and over again. Once again, pixel mapping, not that exciting. Most of the time, it's just generating arrays. The arrange tool is incredibly powerful. Now, while if I did this in MA3D, I can just use the camera, or if I had done it in stage view, I could use just the camera. But because we're using pretty much fixtures that are sitting on top of each other, we'll do it in the layout view. And we'll create our wall. I should put like current topic, pixel mapping. If that's successful, I will be doing more of these. What are you using for the extra universe? So because we're running SACN, there is no other universe. So I've got a command wing beside me, which is 2048 parameters, which means that I can output 4 universes worth. How I split those up is entirely up to me. So if I wanted to split them all across 150 universes, I really could. The benefit. I'm just being really lazy. I'm trying to do patching, you know, in just a really rapid way. And that means that I don't have consecutive fixtures. You know, as we saw that when I patched them to Universe 5, I used Universe 5 because they were free. And we discovered that there was 2 that would overhang. So rather than resolving that issue, I simply just let them auto patch, and that left them in the middle of nowhere man's land in Universe 6. Can you donate to console training? No one asked that question, Alex. You can. We have a Patreon. There's a link to it somewhere. I think it's on our website. It is definitely on our website. Feel free to donate. You get benefits like more live streams. So we have a rough pixel map that's very rough, but it'll do for what we want. So we need to then make this a bit mappable thing. So if we go into setup and we go we go rectangle where we can build a pixel map, and we can go visualization, bitmap. And then now we need to patch a bitmap fixture. No, so the command wing is 2048 parameters. It has 2 physical outputs, but you are licensed to 4 universes. The reason you've got your 3 number there is because you've got a DMX in that you can turn around using a female to female to be also an output. So you can do 3 physical outputs. I wish you could do 5. So to do pixel mapping on MA, we've got a lovely new fixture type from the guys at MA Lighting called bitmap. Which we're going to patch to Universe 50, and we're going to call fixture 1000. Now we're going to need to feed it a bit of information. So we're going to need to go images, and we're going to need to find some video to feed it. So if we go back a couple, under bitmaps, we should find rotating bar. Oh, let's bring them all in. So now if we go fixture 1000, see we've got a bunch of options. So we've got layout, which is an output, so we want layout view 1 because that's our layout view. We've also got images, and we know that I put it at 14. And then we have a bitmap running. On a very small wall. And we also have a preview of it in front of us here, obviously. So you're really limited on the amount of content size that you can put into it. Like the onboard pixel mapping is quite good. However, there are obviously limits. I mean, it's consuming your parameter count. Personally, when I do pixel mapping, I use the mbox because then it doesn't consume parameters on my console. Normally, I'll just patch it so that I've got the control part, or you know, it's all relative, and it all depends on how you want to do it. Obviously, in an ideal world, you'd have full control over all your rig, but sometimes you're going to dedicate, let's say, you know, your pix pads in full mode to just be something that'll be off the media server. And if you need to pull basic colors, you'll just be grabbing a square, dragging it over them and going red. And it's going to send all the pixels to red. So what we can also do is if we go to page 2 for a sec, we can save this. We can also grab our pixel map and move it around. I really wish, because I'm in setup mode. It's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to grab my pixels for a sec and go add that and set a background color. Grab it on button for a sec. So we can also manipulate the colors. So if we can make it red. You can do it like that. What's the difference between parameters and universes? So parameters is the way that MA does things. So if we jump in right now into patch and fixture schedule, these are questions that I really love. We've used 198 parameters. Now a parameter is one thing. So if we look at our Axiom hybrid, is this a good example? Or I'm looking, yeah, it is. I prefer to do it by parameters because if we look, pan is a parameter. However, pan consumes 2 channels, as does tilt. So rather than it being 4 universes, it's technically 2 parameters. So with fixtures that have got multiples, or anything with a fine, so gobo 1 position has also got a fine, that's only 1 channel. So, you know, hypothetically, say we do this in savings mode, we're saving 4 channels per fixture of parameters with the Axiom hybrid, and it'll be the same probably with the Techno Spot. So we're saving 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So these are parameters we're getting back, essentially. Or channels, DMX channels we're getting back. Then we can submit those over whatever universes we want. Yep, Felix has got the exact right answer. Incredibly helpful. I like people that are helpful, that sit in live streams. Unfortunately, they're also the same people that will pull me up when I do something wrong, which is legitimate. What other, once again, questions that no one has asked. What other live streams are there that I should be watching? If you like live streams, the guys from Act Lighting, the US distributor, ACT, do a lot of live streams. And they do a lot of really cool things. Now I'm just randomly Facebook stalking. That's not what we're meant to be doing, Alex. Come on. We're doing a live stream. I need to reduce my sequence count back to a more manageable number. Can I delete the redundant ones or reshuffle sequences? Yes, you definitely can. So if we open our sequence pool for a sec, we can see that this is everything we've got. Now the little 1 indicates that it is assigned somewhere. If we were to go and copy something, we can see that this is assigned twice. But if I hypothetically go, yeah, you know what, I no longer need, oh, that's an interesting view. I no longer need my pixel mapping one, which is here. I no longer need this. If I go delete and click on it, while it's a executor, we change the stage output, but the sequence remains. So you can just go delete. Also, normally when I build sort of corporate room looks and I find something I like, so hypothetically I've got this and I like this and I want to edit it, normally the procedure I go through is I'll actually copy the sequence. So I'll go walk in, copy it and go give it a name. We'll call it walk in alt and we'll go assign and I'll click on an empty fader, which is 5. And now I have an exact copy that is not related to the first one. So if I make changes, just in case, we'll call this pix map if we return to it. So if I make changes, so if I go, actually, let's grab all, you know, the techno spots, we'll make them green, and we'll drop that gobo. You know, we do something like that. When I go to update it, it's called walk in alt. I haven't updated, I haven't broken my original one. I've got 2 totally separate things. So the moment that I copy the sequence, I clone the entire thing onto a separate entity. Can you show us how to do a 2-step color trace? Yes! 2-step color traces. Nice and easy. So we have our wall of hybrids, which will pan to beam straight and will actually be straight to the beams. Alex, come on. I have neighbors apparently, and they're up and awake, and it's late. So, we want it to be a color effect. I'm only going to make it RGB so it works on everything. So we want something with a high value of red and a low value of blue. But we're going to reverse these values because we want them to be like that. We're going to make the width 50. And then we're going to click on axioms and run them. And we have something that looks like that. And it's pink all the time. And that's not what we want, is it really? No, it's not. So we end up sort of messing around. Going red, blue, blue, red. Oh, I've broken that. I reckon two-step color chases are always the hardest thing. And I'm deadly serious on that one. It's all in your phasing. All in your phasing. Yes, I know, and I always demonstrate the same two colors. If I was just smart, I'd use two colors that don't overlap. How many of my live streams have you watched? How do you know that this always goes badly for me? It's because I don't do two-step color chases. I cheat and I just do them off a sequence. So it's always easier. Low value, red. High value. Technically already you've got it. Low value, green. High value, red. So you can create nice effects. So you can do two-step color chases with the palettes. So if you told me to do a two-step color chase, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Red in half, blue in half. Button. Blue. Red. Correct you. Two-step color chase, and then we'd make it follow with a delay of 0.5. And technically you could also make it a chase. But there you go. Two-step color chase. Yeah, I really should stop demonstrating two-step color chases in things. Anything sine wave works really well. It's just stuff like that. But I mean, we can do it together. The science is obviously there. That's the effect we're after. So applying what we actually know. We know that the form is going to be a chase. We know the grouping is going to be 2. We know the width is going to be indeterminable. We know the low value for red is going to be blue and the high value is going to be red. And the low value is going to be red and that's going to be blue. And we're going to run it. And I'm going to get the same thing because they're overlapping right now. And if we change our phasing, so if we go 0 through 180 and 180 through 360, we get slightly closer to it. We're still getting an overlap because I'm an idiot. Be 0 through 360. And 360 through 0. We get the same thing because it's an overlap. Yeah, I know it's to write your own forms and make it half the size, but you know we're trying not to do it like that. We're trying to do it properly. Well, that's null and void, because if I'm doing the reverse, I'm just repeating the process, aren't I? There we go. It's still got a little bit of a flick in it in the middle that's flicking to purple. But that's well and truly it is your phasing, as I said. But I mean, you can tweak that a bit as well. I wonder if you notice it at 30. You do. So I'm wondering if you go -1, so there should be, yeah, there's still that gap. Oh no, it won't let me do that. See, now we're nitpicking. Yeah, well, that's just going to break it, simply because that then breaks your phasing. Yeah, but it's still not complete, you know, it's... Still got that purple flick in it, and I'm, you know, it's not a complete effect. I'm not calling a victory until it's a complete effect. There you go. Milky Bear, what is a bloom effect? Bloom is a Kansas thing, isn't it? So, if you can describe what a bloom effect is, I'll do one, but I'm going to guess in the meantime, and we're going to use our axioms again just to make it easy for us. In our beam straight position. So, what is a bloom? Yeah, so what is a bloom effect? Firstly, that's the question I've got for you, but what I'm guessing you're asking for is something like this. Something where you're never really dropping to 0. So we'll make it so it's between 25 and 45. We'll make it between 5 just for the visualizer. And we'll make it less. We'll use our friend the randomize function, shuffle selection. No, go beam straight. And we'll slow it down a bit. We'll make it 25. And we'll do 2 wings, so it's sort of random. Yeah, no, so the purple happens in Viz, but most of the time that's simply because Viz is faster than fixtures are in real life. But eventually I get there. I'm commenting on a chat that I know the future of already. Oh no, you're up to date. I apologise. Yeah, so I'd love to know what a bloom effect is. If you tell me what a bloom effect is, I shall do one. Dance, monkey, dance. What's our next question? Or am I going to try to get a media server working? Getting a media server working requires getting a laptop out. What's the bet? It's got no battery. It's quite high. Oh, hang on. Yep, no. Flutters attack. Power supply. Now I need to search for my no power supply. Made that look more dramatic than it really should have been. I have a Mac power supply right here. Oh, dear. Oh, crouching down. How many effects do I have in my arsenal? I normally build a lot of mine, other than two-step chases live. It comes out of necessity for me, to be honest. I do have sort of a suite of effects that I use, but most of the time I'm mainly just building them on site. So a lot of the effects that I have, I've got because they remind me how to build certain things. In hindsight, I should probably save the two-step chase one. So what am I doing? I'm loading up a Mac because I need to get into the little inbox that I've got here, which isn't running. I'm more than willing to bet that it's sitting not on network. Question, what is tracking? Well, I can answer that, or I can do inbox.local. Now he's wondering whether the inbox is even on. Let's have a look, see here. I need to run a Cat 5 to that inbox anyway. So what is tracking? Tracking can be best described by turning off tracking. Sounds crazy, right? So there's lots of definitions for tracking. The best definition of tracking is, by default, if you turn off, or we call it non-tracking mode, what you get is pretty much WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So if I program these lights in this position, in this queue, and then in the next queue, we put them in green, and then in the third queue, we put them in red. By default, what you've got is my first queue contains position and intensity. The next queue, all it does is the changes. So it contains, now I want them in green, but because I haven't changed their position, that value of intensity and position tracks through. And the same goes for Q3. If I turn off tracking for a second, what we get is Q1 that looks exactly the same, and then Q2 is off. So if we now grab our axioms again for a sec and give them some intensity, we can see that they've gone back to their home position and that they're at 0. So what I could do is I could track that information back in, including the focus, and we go update and we add it to Q2, and then we come to Q3, and then we have to repeat the same process, and it's painful. But why do people use non-tracking? Because for things like effects, non-tracking is a really lazy way of programming things. Rather than stopping effects, I can go, right, so I want my axioms in to do a wave, and I'll store that to in exec, and then In the next one, I want them to do a pan sign and not a pan wave. Like that. And we store that as Q2. And then in the third queue, I just want a tilt sign. Which I think, oh, I've broken it. Because it's off Speedmaster. We will go axioms, beam straight, tight, and we'll put in a cross. So we've got that. So now I'll give it some intensity just so we see what we're dealing with. I've got that, and then if I track to the next queue, we notice that both of them are running. Now the proper procedure here is for me to go pan tilt wave, release effect, and then update the queue. That's doing it with tracking, but if I want to band-aid fix this problem, I can just turn off tracking, so all I've got is exactly what I entered in the queues. So we can see that it's only running the effects that I defined. And somehow that one also breaks intensity. But we can click through and get all our effects without breaking anything. That's tracking. See you, Phil. Have a gloriously good night. Thanks for dropping by the live stream. So we have 27 people watching. We're an hour and a half in. And I still have drink left. So what are we doing next? Where are we going? What's happening? What are we doing? What is our next question? Do we want to do media servers? Or do we want to do something else? I can keep explaining fundamentals. I like fundamentals. They're basic. And they make the world go round. Hopefully I don't dismantle a camera while plugging a Cat5 cable in. Hopefully it's in the right subnet, that server. I haven't seen it in a while. It's 15:50 PM. It's midnight here in Australia. The glory of time zones. So I'm logging into the inbox to ascertain firstly whether it's running, whether it sees the capture card, and then I go from there. We might be able to do this, we might not. Best for display. It's seeing an AVA media, so it should be possible. Let's dive into Light Converse and see whether we can find it, hey? DMX. Room. Panel. Let's scale this out so it's a reasonably large screen. Make it a 5x4 something, which is an interesting aspect ratio. And we'll bring it forward just for a sec, and we'll go material, and we'll bring in a texture. So we go movie. Now I should get a red screen, to be honest. What I should be getting is a red screen. Let's go 720 for a sec, just to see whether we can get something out of it. Where's input 2? They've jumbled all these, I reckon. Oh, we've got the stream. Hello, stream. Comes in as a virtual camera. But one of these should be my capture card, but it is not. Never mind, there are ways of fixing that. I can go Alt F and open director. on this laptop for a sec. Because the issue that will suffer is HDCP. Do you have something like locate with no pan and tilt? We have highlight. So we've got essentially two different ways. So if I select all my fixtures for a second, put them in red, highlight just puts it in white for me, and solo just gives me that light. So if I turn highlight off, I can only see that one light, and it's something people get stuck in quite often. Just got to make sure that the server's actually got all its thumbnails, and then we'll see whether we can get some output. Is there a way to scale up the resolution of a CITP stream? No, CITP is bound to whatever the source is sending. So if it's not much, then you're gonna get not much, unfortunately. Let's dive into 8. Now. So what I'm doing in the background is I'm trying to get this server to talk properly. Talk to me. Yeah, cool. So now I've got output out of it. Well, I've got output into Mbox. I don't have output into the Viz yet. But give me time. We have ways of making you talk, Mr. Bond. Believe it or not, I think the key might be hiding in XSplit. So I'm going to bring it up for a sec. Alright, so the capture card in itself is actually working. That's handy to know. Now I just need to find the right input in Black Converse. And it's a guessing game. You'd think it'd be number 1, wouldn't you? We might try a restart of LC for a sec. And I'll explain the freeze function in a sec as well. Trust me, I know if I hit on the right input because I'd get the res that I need. But it doesn't look like it's wanting to play ball. This is why we don't do things live. Oh, there we go. I say that and then I get it to work. So we have a LED screen. So let me just set this LED screen up and we'll then do something cool with it. Or then I'll explain freeze and then we'll do something cool. Not that freeze isn't cool. Just looking for sort of something a bit different. Half tube will do. Could even do a pixel map. Oh, sorry, a projection map with it. Distribute something different. But that's not really MA. To those that have just tuned in, we're about to explain the freeze function while I set up a media server and put a test pattern on it. Sample test pattern. There we go. Is there a snap function in objects in MA3D? No, not really. They don't snap to truss. That's why we pay for Vectorworks. Vectorworks is good. Am I the only one noticing that it's no longer receiving SACN? Why is it so? Just took a refresh. Alright, so we have a LED screen, we have lights, they're doing movie things. So, we wanted to talk about the freeze function. So, by default, playback has priority over programmer. So right now we've got normal playback, and I'm just clicking through. We've got our 3 cues that we created before, which we've got color information on. By default, if I go, actually axioms, I want you to be in blue. Next time I change, it's going to go with what's in playback, because playback takes priority over programmer, which is the reverse of the way that Hog and other consoles do it. It's really easy to fix. If you do what you want to do, hypothetically, we put them in yellow and we click freeze. That's the sound of me looking for the freeze button, which it exists. Ah, yes, freeze. Now it's locked in that position, so I can kill it, but because I've got the color information in the programmer, she no work. She do whatever we've got running. So a lot of people actually run their entire console in freeze, because you can do some really interesting things. Like if we bring up our crazy beam thing for a sec, and I create the most boring effect ever, which is a stomp. And we select our fixtures and we run our effect, so it's stomped. When we run our little chase thing again, by default we're overriding it. However, if we go freeze and then select our effect, we can quickly stop it without breaking anything, within reason, and then just clear out of it. So a lot of people run it because essentially you're flipping the priority of programmer versus playback. Is there a snap function? Yeah, we've done that one. Can you park attributes? Yes. If you only use on PC with no wings, what are the must-haves if you're comfortable with it to make it easy to use? MIDI controllers. Firstly, so if you're running a show in MA on PC, you will need some sort of MA hardware such as a node to let you get output out of it. Otherwise, if you're running, you can't run it in shows. You'll be sort of S out of L on that front. So essentially you need some MIDI controllers with some faders, and there's PC software that you can now run that allows you to do it slightly more nicely and actually have full control over your faders. I think I've just lost that media server while we were talking. I have. Interesting. I wonder if that's because it's getting SACN. So I embark on a lot of projects, which means I end up with a lot of different MIDI controllers and stuff. So one of the one of my chosen ones is the little MIDI fighter range. So it's just a bunch of buttons. You can also get ones with faders on it and stuff, which are handy. But yeah, you know, your APC 40, your APC 20 devices like that can be mapped using programs like BOEMS, but most of the time people just use a bit of software called grandMA2 MIDI tools. I'm going to reset my MOX director for a sec. I suspect it's unhappy because I'm sitting off a Wi-Fi network trying to do it. Which would make sense. Yeah, it's no brainer on that little server. Still doesn't really want to talk to me. Talk to me. But I should be able to get it to get CITP. So while we're here, we'll do a little bit of media server stuff. So you can actually get a preview of what's running on your media server if you've got it set up correctly. So if we go system and go other, go CITP for a sec, we'll notice it stopped because there's nothing there. But if we go setup, CITP, enable CITP and go add present, we'll discover that we've got a server here. Now, if I had the fixture layer added and patched, we could define it here so it knows what it's talking to, and obviously all your thumbnails come in. But if all you want to do is preview it, you can actually do that with just CITP or an MSEX. So we're going to wait for output 1 to appear, and we're going to get a preview of output 1. It depends obviously on your server, but you can get all your thumbnails. So if we click here, we can go, we want to grab layer 2, which will be nothing right now, hopefully. Yep, there you go. We've got it there. And I can also request a higher frame rate. We can request up to 30, but as we can see, it's up to the server to actually send that. So I'm wondering whether, if I delete the server for a sec, I can regain control of it. No, interesting. Let's go, we'll do a network restart on the network configuration. There we go, no reply, so it's restarting. Hopefully it'll come back in a sec and we'll have some files. Okay, stupid question. You have a MIDI controller you want to control, grand fader. What do you need to change in the remote settings? It'd really help if I had some hardware to do so, but I don't have any MIDI hardware to do so. So we'll go remote input setup for a sec, MIDI remotes, and we'll imagine we've got one. We're gonna be really cheeky. So all you have to do is control an executor. What do you mean, Alex? We want to control the grandmaster. Yes, but can you not assign the grandmaster to an executor? So if I went page, let's say 4, you could put it on 50 if you really wanted to. And then we went to exec page 4 for a sec. One of your assign options is a special master called master, which is not what you want actually. You want grandmaster. And if you assign that fader, you'd have a grandmaster via exec, via a MIDI controller. Can most MIDI controllers? So MA is a bit picky on what it'll receive. It only works with notes rather than what we call CCs or control changes, which is what most devices that send a range of devices such as, you know, faders send. But you can translate that with software, or you can use a bone box or something, which is a fantastic little box that you plug your USB device in, and it's got physical MIDI out, and it does all the configuration inside. So you can take something that sends CCs, and you can go take the CC value, and we'll call it, it's very similar to DMX, take the value of 0 to 127, which is what MIDI works in rather than 255, and then scale that up to notes between 0 to 127, and then the MA knows that the highest MIDI value that it can get is 127, so that's what it's calling, you know, 100%. So yes, it's half as precise as a normal fader, technically, because a normal fader, in MA it's virtual, but we know that it's 255, but you've still got that little less amount of precision. Trying to get into this little inbox again and change at least the protocol so it stops listening, because I reckon it's listening to SACN. Failing that, I'll just go in and give it a swift kick. I have an NSP2 and MIDI aux. NSP2 will allow you to have 4 universes of MA2 if you put it in node mode, which is fantastic. This will definitely break the server. Oh, normally this breaks the server. Yep, there we go, HTCP. As predicted. Let's go for current display. Off. So it's using 15. We're doing that startup scale. Do we want to do media server stuff? Or do we want to do something else? I'm happy to do whatever the 19 people that are watching want to do. Not many people. Not many for a stream like this, but that's okay. You know, it's my party, etc. 30. How do you overcome HTCP? Well, I put Mbox in full screen, and I unplug its HDMI and I put it back in. Sometimes it works. Like so. Now I've got a working media server. Do you want to patch a media server and do all that kind of crazy crap? Alright, yes. I've seen one yes. It could be an answer to another question, but I'm going with it because I want to do media server stuff. Let me just disappear a laptop. And we'll do media server stuff. So, to do that, we're going to have to unpatch some stuff. We'll get rid of our pixel map. That should free up some parameters. So, we're dealing with an Mbox. So we're going to patch Mbox. We're going to call it Mbox control. And the reason I do it like that will work very quickly out. So, PRG make it. It is an Mbox mini And we're running 3.10, but .9 will work. So, from memory, it's master, and we're going to go one of those, and it's going to be fixture 1001, and we're going to make it so that it's 15.1, because that's the ACN that it's set to. So we go master, keystone, shutter, and then we're going to go inbox layers. And the reason we do it like that is because when we go to do the CITP part, 2001, it works. I'm being really cryptic, but you'll see exactly what I mean right now. So if we go CITP and I select, if I'd put them together, I then have to manually go in, define what the library sub-attribute is. If I go layers, it goes, texture directory and texture. I recognize those, so those will work. Then I just need to go network protocols, create a new one, go unicast 192.168.1.96, which is what our inbox is running on. 1.15 is our local start, and 15. And hopefully that will work. Unless I broke something. 95 would also help. So we're not unicasting to any IP. So now, if I go fixture 2001, and we go add out, I get a little square. And we go to beam. Yes, beam. And we discover the most annoying thing about this fixture file. The file, texture directory, is on a separate thing to the texture. So we'll go texture directory 2, which is SD, and we'll go file 1. And we'll see we get little numbers. So I'm going to crank this back to 10 frames per second because I don't need it in all its glory. We can crank through some content. We can also kill... because I'm on page whatever. So let's just go off everything for a sec. So we're just dealing with the screen. Is it not? Yes. So you are correct. It is obviously musical scales. However, they can be translated to a value as well. So each octave, so your lowest octave would be... no. So, with notes, there's a number that correlates to obviously a piano key, because that's where we started with MIDI. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what your certain notes are, but there's a notes chart around there. But the velocity is always a number. So the 0 to 127 is always a number. However, your device may send certain things. So it may send a G sharp or something. G flat, G sharp, G flat, G flat. Which then is translated to a number. But you can do that by just plugging your device in and just pressing the button. OC is 1. There you go. So middle is OC middle C? I think it is. No. I shouldn't talk about musical things. It gets embarrassing. So, you might notice we've got textures, but we've got entries. We want to have some little thumbnails. So if I go set up back to CITP and I go update thumbnails, firstly we get the name of the file, which is handy. Secondly, we now get nice little pictures of everything. Which means if we go back to our old friend from MA1, Smart, we can customize it a bit to make it big symbols. I can literally just pick content. Essentially busk content, like so. Doesn't work so well for folders. But we get our textures. if I've clicked into the right folder. So Thomas, you're making me look like I don't know anything. It's just music that I don't know about. And plus, it's quite late. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. We're still holding strong at 19 people. That's pretty good. So those that are interested in the cause, our cause, you don't have to donate. Under no circumstances are we ever expecting anyone to donate, but you can donate if you so choose to. But that's media. I mean, the benefit of I much prefer working with media servers from behind a console, simply because we've got all these great things that we're used to with positioning and stuff. He says as he looks for them. They're under control, Alex. So we've got, you know, the capacity to move content around. And then obviously we've got the capacity to zoom content and size it. And we can sort of build from this. So I can go 2002, bring up a square, and repeat this sort of crazy process. Let's go 2 again, and bring in sort of lines. And we can see that the res that I'm getting on the CRTP viewer is quite low as well. But we can also do some sort of layer transitions so that it's not just over the top of each other. So we can do sort of a cool blend like that. We can also, with Mbox, we can also bring in video inputs and do stuff like that. And obviously anything that we do here, we're just essentially dealing with a moving light that has the capacity to output a lot of quote-unquote gobos. And that's what I like about dealing with media servers on a lighting console, because it can be cohesive. We've even got, you know, color overrides. So if we need to adjust things, like if we want to just make it blue, we can. We've also got a bunch of effects. We can make it monochrome effect, solarize. It's all relative, and it all depends on other sort of parameters. There'll be an effect parameter somewhere. PA. There we go. It's just not the world's greatest fixture file. But there we go. We've got monochrome, which now means that my color overrides will work. So I can make it red if I need to. So what do we want to try to do? Do you want me to continue trying to put together a show, or what do we want to look at? I'm in your hands. I'm not going to pixel map with Mbox, simply because of the way that I have it hooked up. I can't show you the screen that I need to. And there's videos online before. There's already videos online on how to do that anyway. So you want me to do a show? Alright. So we've got our little stage set up. We've also got some media. So I'm going to delete all sequences. Delete all sequences. So we're just bone stock. I'll leave my presets there because watching me do presets was painful enough for me, let alone everyone else. And yeah, we'll go from there. So we're going to do band for a sec. We're going to go imagining that we're going to go white with that. Make them reasonably tight. Because now we've got a big, nice media backdrop. It's going to look a bit different. So I'm going to essentially create what I call like suggestion states. So these are pretty much sort of if you had to have one start look for each song, this is what they'd look like. I'm going to start using a bunch of hard values. For those that don't know what hard values are, they're essentially just, rather than putting everything in presets that are easy to update, I'm pretty much abusing the system and just putting in rough values that I can't recall, which is bad. But if we're getting, you know, if we're getting a show up and running, sometimes you need to make sacrifices. And that's what we're doing. We're making sacrifices to get a show, to actually get a show, quote unquote, out the door. So we've got a red look. So we'll put some gobos in. Just have them do a pen sign. Slow it down to like 2. And then we'll create chase. Just on the fly, we'll create a zoom chase for a little, just for the fun of it. I mean, we're just messing around here. It's so much easier when you can actually talk like program methodology with people. So you can go, oh, you know, so, you know, this is a certain song and we'll make it look like this. But not so much here. We can't really do that. So I'll call this what it is. So we've got sort of a song look. Now we need to couple some media with it. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Color bars. No. I'm trying to remember what's in all the folders. There should be some content in 3. Yeah, there we go. But I have a feeling, yeah. I'm going to switch that LED screen in a sec. It's annoying me now. Yeah, perfect. Alright. Give me a sec to switch that LED screen out. The curved screen's nice, but not what we really want. It's quite easy to change effects. I would normally set up just sort of one fader per effect type. So I'll do that in a sec. Let me just push this LED screen back so we're not covering things. I mean, I can also turn this into a LED screen. So it actually looks like a LED screen. It looks like a 30mm LED screen. Woo. Make it a 20mm LED screen. So normally what I would do is I would have, let's just dump this onto this fader for a sec. We'll add this as second cue. So then what we've got is we've sort of got our normal state and then we've got our build state. So we can go, maybe a fade of 3. Remembering I've probably got exec time on, which you can set to ignore. So see that? We don't really want that. So we want to actually just modify the fade of the dimmer to be 3. So everything else will snap, but the dimmer will fade in 3 seconds. So we get our content coming in. Now we could time this so it works, and obviously this slightly changes when we're going between bits of content. What media server am I using? I am using Mbox, PRG Mbox Mini, running on a 2006 or 2008 Mac Mini. Working fairly well, to be honest. I'm probably overheating the poor little thing because its fan should be kicking in and it hasn't yet. Transitioning between effects. Transitioning between effects is really easy. You can obviously do it out of the programmer using program time. Or what I'll end up doing is I normally like to have just the same sort of effects on one fader. So I'll have like a dimmer sign as 1, Q1, and a dimmer chase as Q2, which I would always modify so that the low value is like 15. I'll do blocks of 2, wings of 2, sorry, and blocks of 3. So it's sort of an odd and even style thing. And let's go, you know, dimmer random or something stupid, and just amp up the speed so when I store it it's crazy. I'll also put 10 in on that as well. Maybe 1, just so we've got something. I mean, once again, I'd start and stop the effects properly, but this time I'm just going to turn non-tracking on. But of course, I've been caught out by non-tracking already because my position isn't correct. So now I have to update all those cues. But, I mean, it's actually not the end of the world. I can literally just go store Q1 through 5 and click on it and go merge. And then it's actually going to be in every queue already. What was Q1? I thought Q1 was a sine wave. It is. Maybe it's just a really fast one. I'll take Q1. Yeah, there we go. So it's fairly easy to transition. I mean, you can also, if you've got a lot of effects, you can start changing what you're doing with the buttons. You can make it a load. So rather than doing them in order, you can go load, I want Q2 next, and then the next time you press go, it's going to immediately load that. I normally let lighting inform media, but it all depends on what I'm working with. I mean, most acts, they'll sort of come with a sort of a color palette and sort of media that is being created for the more high-end ones, and you'll sort of have to work to that. But I mean, that's easy. I mean, most of the time it's like, oh, so it's going to be a passionate song, and you're like, well, I'm not going to be programming in blue, am I? Just editing the Facebook post so it says right now. Done. So now I'm just messing around with media servers. Fun with media servers. You can do stuff like make it so it's a banded screen. You can do all sorts of really cool things. So you can turn one input into many outputs. I mean, that's not the world's greatest map that I've done there, but you could make it so that it was seamless by going, oh, this is only sampling 80% or sampling a certain part, and you can literally put, like, you know, lots of different quote-unquote screens in. Why do I use Light Converse? Because I like the render engine in it. It's nice. Judging by the retention rate right now, I think we might be done for this evening. Thank you all for coming down and watching. Yeah. Anyway, yep, that's gonna definitely do it for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.